Hello, friends. I'm going to turn this big, huge chunk of cedar into a Davidic harp. So, a friend of mine who is a pastor, a messianic pastor, a good friend of mine, he wants me to turn this big, huge chunk of cedar into a Davidic harp. Now, a Davidic harp is the type of harp that King David in the Bible, David and Goliath and all that, yeah, he was a musician and a songwriter. That's where many of the Psalms in the Bible come from. We can't really know exactly what instrument, version of this harp he actually played. Now, oftentimes they crafted these things out of a solid chunk of wood, such as we'll be doing here. I, as a modern instrument maker, probably would have taken a different approach. It is the sound chamber will be here, but this is a pretty thick piece of wood here. It's 2.5 inches or so. So it's going to be interesting to see how we navigate through cutting this. I have a resaw blade, certainly thick enough and sharp enough. It's a nice Wolf brand bandsaw blade on my 14-inch bandsaw. And so I guess what I started with was finding a photograph of one of these instruments, and I brought it into my image editing software and I simplified everything and turned it into an outline. And then I took that and I printed that outline onto a transparent projection sheet. Remember these things? Yeah, one of them, an overhead projector. Believe it or not. I think the image, here it is. Let's see if we can't, yeah. So I actually took that and I projected it onto the wall, onto a piece of paper, which we see over here. Projected it on the wall and I blew it up to the size I wanted and traced it out. And we're going to use that as our model. So let's get to it. I guess we'll start with tracing this thing out. I guess back in the old days, they just sort of just did a lot of things by eye. You can see that this piece here, we're going to use, a scrap piece of, somewhere off of here, there'll be some scrap here. But the grain really should be going this way because those were the metal tuning pegs, like a harp, the harp pegs, the tuning pegs are going to go into. We don't want the grain to be going that way. We want the grain to be going in this direction. We can make adjustments along the way. There's no frets on this, of course, so we're pretty much open strings. So we're just creating a frame. If I were to do this myself, I probably would have made this more squarish. It's very rounded. These things like the horns of an ibis or whatever. And that line, this line here. There's a big chunk of rotten stuff in the middle. We're not worried about it because we're going to just work around it. Lots of knots in this. I didn't choose the wood, so I'm just crossing my fingers and giving it a go. I probably would have taken a much smaller piece and cut it into veneers and made a form or something, and then bent these and made these with square sides, and made all these. I would have made these hollow. Probably would add more resonance, but hey, tradition, tradition. All right. Okay. I think I'll start with. I'm going to use a very wide resaw blade, so I'm not going to be able to get this detail very easily on such a thick piece. What I will do is use a Forstner bit. I'll drill these down and do that first. Well, I'm not used to cutting huge chunks of wood like this. This thing's an older jet before they got. It's not as good as the modern ones, but. What a beast! Okay. One. All right. Whew. Thing is a beast. And cedar chips. Save those for the fireplace. So good. What would David do? Huh. Let's put a wedge in there. Need a wedge. There you are. Bleeding there. Starting to look like a harp. It's beautiful out here. Not a guitar anywhere in sight. We'll cast our line in, see what we get. Ah, beautiful. Oh, I got something. Whoa. Oh man, it's huge. Okay, so what I've done after, cut it out on the bandsaw and did some basic preliminary sanding to this. I want a nice deep bowl, so I want to take advantage of much of this chunky piece of wood that was given to me, but we need to par it down a bit. So, I mean, these horns should be like horns that taper down to a smaller point. Yeah, I left myself some extra there, but I want them to taper down till they get down to about here or so. Just taper those down so they're like horns. I might carve them a little pointier here so they terminate. They actually look like bison horns or whatever, and that'll take some weight off. Next, I have to figure out how I'm going to hollow this out. Now, there's a company called Arbortech. It's an attachment for an angle grinder. It's kind of weird looking. It works very well from all the videos I've seen. Everyone seems to be happy with it. So I'm going to pick one of those up. They're not cheap, but it looks like it could be pretty handy in my life to have something like that. So we're gonna probably use a Forstner bit to bully out a lot of this area in here to make our chamber. We'll go in with the Arbortech tool and make a nice smooth rounded bowl in there. Back then, before in the Bronze Age, when these things were designed, I don't know, they used their teeth or something to shape wood, but they did it. You know, the Egyptians did some elegant things. They figured it out. In this day and age, we have power tools. This is too big for my 14-inch bandsaw, so I'm just gonna have to wing it with my Ryobi. Need a more solid bench is what I need. Well, it's working. Fine woodworking. There you go. Check this thing out. Yeah. Angle grinder. Basically took off the bulk of that stuff there. Okay, can make that work. Ouch. It's gonna look kind of nice. starting to look like a harp. Take everything away that doesn't look like a Davidic harp. Yeah. I mean, it feels, nice and organic. The cedar just smells lovely. Saving this for last because I need to do a little fine tuning up in here. Decide what I want to do with this thing. I kind of like it flared out like that, although the original is not, looks more like these lines here. I might make a access plate out of that so it can put electronics in there like a K&K system to amplify the instrument. My concern, the shearing strength of the wood itself when it comes to installing these tuning pegs that you often see on harp instruments. So I'm thinking the top will be a blonde color. So I'm thinking of using a nice, hard rock maple. I got a nice piece here with some tiger figuring in there. But I want it to be flat sawn. I want the direction of the grain to be this way as opposed to this way, because the peg will go into the hole like that, and the string will exert pressure on it in this direction. And if you put a peg in here, there's a much more high chance of these grain lines cracking because of the peg pulling on it in this direction. So I want to use a flat sawn piece of wood. The cedar I mean, the grain goes everywhere on this thing. It's a little crazy. I want something reliable and consistent and that will stand the test of time about there, about that much. Probably make it a little thinner. I'm going to notch this and notch, double notch it on either side. I don't want to take too much strength out of here. I don't want to go down any more than, halfway. And the same with this. We're going to make that next. I don't know if I need it to be quite that thick. I mean, this appears to be fairly thin, like a half an inch. I think I'd like to go a little more robust on that. Knowing what I do about instruments and the effects of time and stress and moisture and lack of moisture and et cetera, wood expands and contracts, therefore I eat. This part is too important. It has to be able to withstand the pressures involved with 10 strings tuned at various pitches. I mean, I don't know how much that would be in pounds. Acoustic guitar is, each one of those strings is pulling 10 pounds, 12 pounds. Do the math, comes out 130, 140 pounds, depending on the gauge. And I mean, that's a lot of pressure. So this part is important. I really want to have a quality piece of wood here. Okay, so we need to figure out the width of these strings. Is 10 strings. We have to keep in mind what's going on down here as well. So I'm pretty much, I don't have any measurements or a set of plans for this. I just have a picture. Okay, we need to cut the notches um, for this. And I'm going to use the butt of the instrument as a reference for string length here. I marked off how long I want the string to be on this scrap piece of rosewood. And just line it up with that. Okay, I'm just going to clamp a board here, nice straight edge on it. And I have a router bit with some bearings on it. Stuff smells good. Yeah. Watch that. Do that one next. Alright. Let's get a chisel and well,